Sharing is caring.
Share. Oh, holy night.
If I could turn back time. Do you go back and watch some of the Cher shit on the old late night show?
Sometimes I go back. I've seen the Sunny one when they reunite that time. That weird one.
Oh, a little awkward.
A little awkward. Slight. I mean, I watched that one live. I definitely remember seeing that one live. That was awkward.
She's like, I thought you were an asshole. And he goes, well, that's an interesting thought from somebody who was married to Sonny Bono.
Yeah. I always liked Sonny. He always, when I was a kid watching, I was literally like 7 or maybe 8 years old. I don't know when I was.
Right.
And I always liked Sonny Bono for some reason. I think one reason I liked him, I know this sounds weird, because he reminded me of my next door neighbor.
You had a short Italian guy as your next door neighbor?
Well, he was kind of short. He wasn't Italian, but he just kind of had that personality.
Sonny was a very smart guy when it came to the music business, I think.
Seemed to be.
I think he was one of those guys that didn't get ripped off like a lot of guys,
Yeah, definitely.
I think he was one of those guys. That. Ow. But then, I don't know, it had to be some fucking network executive goes, look, I know you guys are splitting up and getting divorced. We still want you to do the show. It's such a huge show.
America's wanting you.
And it's like, okay, it's one thing if they tell each other they suck and they're pieces of shit. If they're married, like, oh, it's cute. We're still married. We love you. But like, if you're not, and you're just telling each other, I fucking hate you and you're a piece of shit. It's not quite, it's a little uncomfortable. That may have been the beginning of cringe, of what we now know as cringe.
It could have been, at least for me and you.
I think that was the beginning of cringe.
Man, I don't think I want to hear any more cringe this weekend after what I heard earlier today. That was enough for today.
What was the cringe that you heard today, Bryant, that you'd like to share with all of us on the Katie Vick is Alive podcast?
I would love to share this. I don't listen to the Jarrett podcast as much as you do. But today.
Okay, so
we need to set this up.
We do. There's context is king, says that fuckhead Eric Bischoff. So
that was the Rock and Roll Express's interest song, right?
Due to
content. Yeah, remember?
Content. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, no. I preferred Boogie Woogie Dance Hall. Much better. What a piece of shit that was. So we go to the TNA thing. We go to the TNA panel about the early years of TNA, in which, I don't know, the people in the audience didn't get it and tried every which way not to ask questions about the early days of TNA.
It was quite interesting.
So we get to this portion afterward, because my buddy here got the VIP package, so we get to have a picture taken in front of the table with all of the guests, which we'll tell you about in a minute. But Jarrett is right there, and as an icebreaker, as we go up to have our picture taken together, I go, yeah, I used to be a researcher on the My World podcast, but I got fired, and like somebody giggled or something, so they knew what the fuck I was talking about. And he goes, well, good. He goes, well, those fuckers, I hate those researchers, something like that. So we had our picture taken, and I go, so Bryant, you know what I was talking about? He goes, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So we go back to the car, and we're enjoying a cold beverage or a snack or whatever. And I go, listen to this shit. And we go back to the October episode when Conrad and Jarrett have this on-air cringe fucking, like, if it was a marriage, it would have been a marriage-ending fight. It was so. It was like.
Let me tell you the worst part about all of that. The silence. The silence parts were just
So they're having a podcast, and it's about Austin 316 is the theme. So in Conrad's mind and everybody else's mind, it's about Austin 316 and the birth of that in 1996, 1997, all that shit. And in Jeffrey Nero Jarrett's mind, he thinks it's about, it's his whole career. And I knew Austin back in 86 and 87. Blah, 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 blah. So Jeff just stews. And after a couple hours, he blows up and goes, I'm getting pissed off because the researchers didn't do fuck all about all this stuff from 86 and 87 and the 100 times that I've wrestled Steve Austin. And then Connor's like, buddy, we're specifically talking about 96, 97. He goes, but then we go back to talking about him eating potatoes in Memphis. He goes, well, they referenced that after you did the thing that you did on the air that pissed Steve off. And he goes and bitches to Russo. So that's why that was brought in there. So they have, and then seconds tick by on the podcast with no one talking.
God, man.
And they left it in the podcast so that we could all enjoy it. And Brian had never heard it. And I'm like, Brian's like, oh shit, this is like super uncomfortable listening to this shit. This is like
just, I mean, it was like goose pimply cringy, you know?
I am now, for whatever reason in my life, I'm in a stage where I go back and I listen to podcasts many times, like a lot of times, because I want to really, really, really absorb the details. And for that, I absorbed all of the details of all of that, why Jeff was pissed and everything. And then we get to the next week and they make up and, oh, it's fine. And we were just kidding and we don't hate each other and blah, 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 blah. So,
yeah, I heard some of that one too.
There's a podcast from Christianity Today called The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. Have I told you about this? I think I mentioned this on the Brad and Britt cast.
Yeah,
I don't think I mentioned on this one. Yeah. It's, to me, fascinating. It's about this guy who sort of kind of a little bit is the Donald Trump of religion. He had a mega church up in Seattle, and he was such an asshole that eventually they were going to remove him, but he quit before they could do it. And it's the whole thing is, and they just did the Hitler in the bunker.
So far matches up.
Yeah. They just did the Hitler is in the bunker episode, which is like 2 hours, and it's edited brilliantly. The guy who hosted is brilliant. The storytelling is magnificent, and there's like real lessons in there, and it's fascinating. So I listened to that over and over and over and over and over again. And as you know, there are certain podcasts throughout history that I've listened to. The CM Punk thing.
I know of one.
The CM Punk and Colt Cabana thing I've listened to a million times. The Scott Bowden podcast when he talks about when Brian Christopher died. I've listened to that one so many times. Eric Embry on Stone Cold Steve Austin when he talks about Bruiser Brody in Puerto Rico. I've listened to that one over and over, and I could listen to it over and over again a million times just to absorb all those details. And this is what happens then. This character here. And this thing with Conrad and Jarrett, that I absorbed, and part of Jarrett's podcast, for all the accolades it's getting, it deserves all of it. They did 2 or 3 parts on the beginning of getting TNA off the ground, and this happened, and then this guy lied to them, and then the Health South guy comes on board, and to me, it's all very fascinating. They kind of make fun of it, like, oh, the granular detail, and Jeff gets into it, but I love the detail of it. I love all of that stuff. You heard with your own ears today, Jeff was getting emotional from 2002 to 2009. He said that was the most satisfying part of his professional life because that was his baby.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. So the TNA, we can start at the end. WrestleCade was a blast, and we'll get into some more of the granular detail because of work schedules of Brian and myself. We didn't get to do all of the stuff we wanted to, but we got a really good slice of it, and we got to do a lot of the stuff we wanted to. And we had a really great experience, which we always do at WrestleCade. Today on Sunday, it was the TNA Early Years panel. Left to right on the dais, if you will, was D'Lo, Johnny Swinger, Goldilocks, Jeff Jarrett in the center square, Bill Behrens, and then America's Most Wanted, James Storm and Chris Harris. Those were the guys that you saw on there. And then special guest star from the audience, Earl Hebner, said a piece for a moment. ODB was in the audience. I think Shannon Moore was also in the audience, just checking things out. And it was really, really neat, very heartwarming. We got some details that we didn't get about some things. They talked about the time that TNA ran the house show at the Annex in Winston-Salem, which is next to Lawrence Joel, which some of you know, of course, is where Wake Forest plays home basketball games and where they had a couple of WCW pay-per-views. I think that's where Eric Bischoff got pissed off at Tony Schiavone because he mentioned Lawrence Joel as the home of Wake Forest. And Eric Bischoff told Tony Schiavone nobody gives a shit about Wake Forest, which is, again, another bizarre Eric Bischoff thing. But I said to you, I remember specifically the weekend that they ran that house show was the weekend that all of the shit about Karen Angle and Jeff Jarrett blowing up. All of that was all the storm was swirling. I don't think Kurt was working. I think you could get photo ops with Kurt. And I think this is where I want to say Don West went on the road with them, and that's where him being a hawker of shit was so great because they would do the intermissions.
I think we saw him there, didn't we?
Maybe.
I would say we did. Maybe we didn't. No.
But Don West would always be like, "Hey, for $20 in the ring, you can do it over here. You do it," and he was just, he motherfucker can sell shit. Don West is a brilliant man when it comes to selling any of that shit. He's got that skill down pat, and he knows how to do it. But that was the weekend that all that stuff was blowing up, and Kurt was saying backstage at the Annex in Winston-Salem that he was going to have Jeff's job. He was going to have Jeff's ass for all this stuff because Jeff had allegedly denied everything to Dixie's face, and then eventually, Jeff was escorted from the building, given his stuff in a box, and he started that GCW promotion, which is so great. That we all love so much. Which I still love.
I can't wait for next week's episode.
Can I get how much is the GCW? Does Conrad have the GCW belt? Does he have the GCW belt?
Maybe they'll have a GCW reunion next year.
Here's what you people don't know. This is what was stunning. On that panel, who stole the show today? Of all the people on that panel, who stole the show?
To me, I'd say Bill Behrens.
Bill fucking Behrens. Bill, and I go up there when we're taking our picture and went, he fucking stole the show. Who knew? And they laughed at me. I'm like, I should have said, who told this guy to get all his shit in? He's telling.
He got every syllable in, dude.
Because we were sitting there and Brian goes, well, who's that guy? And I went, I think that's Bill Behrens. I said that a couple of times. I think that's Bill Behrens because I know he was really involved and did travel and stuff. And I've heard various stories, but I don't know, because everybody's got an axe to grind. You don't know if this guy's a bad guy or a good guy or if he's an asshole or whatever, because, he's put in a heat position. I think he was trying to, set him up with booking fees and did travel. So, of course, there's going to be some people that hate him, like for the rest of their lives. And then I think, when some of the boys weren't getting paid, maybe some of that heat was residual on Bill and shit like that.
Yeah, I'm sure he took some shit for it at some point.
So I don't know, but he's unbelievably funny. He told some great stories.
Oh yeah, man. God.
And he doesn't give a shit because he doesn't have anything to lose. He's a guy he's not trying to get a job anywhere in wrestling. So he's just gonna fucking tell the truth. And Bryant, who was the guy that spontaneously got shit on that panel without any provocation whatsoever? Well, just as time rolled on, who is the guy that got shit on in story after story on that panel?
Bro, I don't remember, bro.
Vincent James Russo.
Oh, yeah.
From a variety of people. Now, okay. I don't like Goldilocks. I unfriended Goldilocks a while back because she's going right wing on me and I can't deal with her bullshit. And I'm just sorry, I'm not going to do that.
That's so sad. I hate that.
There's a list of people at that we saw this weekend that I just don't give a shit about. And I'm aggressively trying to avoid. She's on the list. Unfortunately, our friend C.W. Anderson has put himself on that shit list. Glenn Jacobs has put himself on that shit list. Shane Douglas was teetering. He was going that direction, but he was able to pull back enough, and we were able to make friends with him and part as friends. I'm okay with that.
You know what? He went up and put the ball on the tee.
He did.
And was getting ready to swing and said, I'm picked the ball back up.
But that was mostly you. You bailed him out. You gave him the gratis there. You gave him that was good because at the end of the thing, Brian goes, well, you know what? You were right about Ric Flair. And he kind of goes, well. So we parted as friends. But back to the TNA thing, which was very entertaining, very good, and certainly worthy of our time. And have you the nice poster that they gave, which is right behind Brian? If you're watching us now, there's a lovely poster. And it's very well done. It's a nice piece of art. I got to say, Bill Behrens comes out really well. Whoever the artist is, he must have blown that guy because he comes out ahead on that deal.
He's like Leonardo DiCaprio shit.
That was given to all the VIP people, and it's a really nice piece, and everybody signed it, and it's lovely.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's really cool. I'm gonna get a frame for it.
I wish that Earl would have had a little more time, but he literally had to take a piss or a shit, or I don't know what was going on there. He said he had to go because Earl Earl acts like he said when he got out of WWE, it was like prison. He just talked about how awful it was, and that's when I shouted, "Well, how was it?" And then like
And
you
somebody
laughed.
started giggling, man.
You
Besides me.
You were because he's like going on like, what did you think of it? Why don't you give us your opinion? No, I don't want to do any of that. Goddamn Earl, why are you doing this to me?
That's what you should have done. You should have
Hey,
done it that voice. And he'd have been like,
goddamn it, Earl, I gave you everything. Have you ever heard this story about how he was fired?
I don't think so. Maybe
It's weird, and I don't think anybody's got the real. And that would be an interesting. He and Dave, his twin brother, had a screen printing shop or something in St. Louis where they would make T-shirts. I think they made T-shirts, and they would make funny little mock-up T-shirts for WWE with like trademark stuff, but it was just for hee around the office. Look at what I did with the logo or shit like that. Well, somebody who was trying to fuck him like went to the office with us. Hey, did you know he's doing this? And previously what had been cool all of a sudden was not cool. And they end up getting fired. And I don't think that they were selling these things for profit or anything, but they made it out like they were. And then Earl is, after being a loyal soldier, we see what that gets you, right?
Something so petty. I can't imagine him doing something like that. Earl
gets fired. That's what happens. Earl is escorted from the building. He's packing shit in his box, and all of a sudden it's like, bye, see you later.
That's probably a blessing for him, though.
It was really kind of like that. And of course, today again, he's acting like he's getting rammed in the corner of the cell.
well,
yeah. This is March 19th of 2021. Oh, this is the story about Earl Hebner fearing he would be assassinated from the dark side of the ring. That's another funny one. Holy scenario. Hey, Earl, I think there's an assassin coming up behind you.
What? Huh?
How do you know he's an assassin? He's got a mask on and a gun. So he's a.
Is it one or two?
Listen, you don't know who I am, and you don't know why I'm here. But I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. Do that. Bang, bang, bang. Pew, pew, pew.
That was definitely assassin number one.
He was. Pew, pew, pew. God damn it, pew. He was. It says in the Sports Keto story, he was terminated for allegedly selling WWE merchandise independently without the company's permission. So there you go. But he acted today like he had been like prison raped and dragged across the bars.
Well, he used the word prison.
He did. He acted like it was the worst thing possible. He got out. It was like, so it's like,
okay.
Jesus Christ! If you're working for TNA, wait till you get your earbuds back in, because Bryant's taking off all his clothes.
Yeah, man. All of a sudden, I got a hot flash. It's that time of the month.
Well, I understand soy milk is really good for that. So really? if you think that TNA is a good job, and like you said, you're driving in the Scooby-Doo van to go to some middle school in Joplin, Missouri to do a house show, and you think that's like you're living the life, then you must have been really being treated pretty shittily in World Wrestling Entertainment.
Right? Yeah. It speaks volumes to me. I don't know.
Like if he was being treated like shit, look what Finkel went through. Finkel must have gone through something like 10 times worse. Could you imagine if Finkel would have been able to escape and the stories he would have told? Here I am in TNA. The following matchup is for the X Division title. Even though we don't know what the fuck the X Division is.
Wouldn't you love to heard him at WrestleCade, like introduce people at the Super Show? That would have been some shit. Oh,
the fucking best stuff. The following contest is a 30-minute time limit. From Greenville, North Carolina, he is the ECW original C.W. Anderson. Do that kind of shit. That'd be good, right?
That'd be great, man. God.
Miss Finkel. He got treated like shit. So and Earl did too. So it goes through that whole thing. You're a good soldier. You do what you're supposed to. You got put in a bad position, and you had to fuck Brett. You didn't want to fuck Brett. You fucked Brett, and then like 3 years later, they go, "Oh, you're fired. See you. Been nice knowing you.
You're selling these trinkets. Get the hell out of here."
And then he even made an allusion. Earl did before he had to go take a piss or take a shit or whatever. I don't know if he's got GI issues. I don't know what's going on. But
I don't know what
that's literally what he said. He said, "Hey," he said, "I had to take a microphone because I got to go to the bathroom." That's what he said. You know, it's great. Earl's
all right. Earl.
Earl's at the I don't give a fuck age. And that's perfectly fine. I don't care with him saying that's fine. But he's like, you guys know I've done some bad stuff in my life too. I'm like, I don't know, Earl. You can put that bag down. Nobody's really blaming you for that anymore, are they? I mean, even an asshole like me, who would be like, "Oh, you really fucked Brett." It wasn't his fault, right?
No.
None of that was his fault. He did what he had to do.
I think, well, you too, man. I think both of us knew that from the get-go. We might have some, reservations about a couple things about the whole story, but I never thought he just never seemed like he would be like fully involved as far as like, being in on it with Vince and shit.
I question
he was in
the
on
timeline.
it without his, I don't know, without his own blessing. If that makes sense.
I questioned the timeline for many years, but I've worked it out. It's all worked out. Dave was the one that said, and they told Dave, "Hey, it's gonna be a hot finish. You got to get him out of here," because I just thought it was gonna be like, if you saw the crowd's hot as fuck. I can't believe they went out in the audience and brawled like they did in Montreal. I can't believe that Sean and Brett were out because Brett could have been shivved by any one of those fucking Frenchmen.
God, yeah.
This is the one time these fuckers don't want to surrender. It's like this in hockey. They're like, "I'll just comes to the fake sport. I will shiv you." I hope when Belkush, when he hears this, he's not upset at my French accent.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be impressed.
I will shiv you, monsieur. Sometimes I throw like a French phrase at him or something when he's tweeting at us,
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's impressed with that too.
He's not because it's like it's like shit that a fourth grader would know, like quel dommage, how bad, shit like that. It's like it's like the dumbest shit in the history of ever. So the TNA panel is really good. Jeff did most of the talking. Goldilocks barely talked, which was fine. D'Lo talked a little. Johnny Swinger talked a little. We got America's Most Wanted. James Storm had the best facials. He really was great. He was really funny.
He's awesome. I love him.
And then Bill Barron stole the show. If you would have asked a question to the panel, what question would you have asked?
I'll go
with mine. I'll go with mine first.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I would have stuck to the script. Obviously, I would have tried to skip through. If I was going to be a dick about it, like I usually am about most things, I would have been like, "Hey, Jeff, on your podcast, you said that you found out some shit that Vince Russo said to the Carters, and that changed your opinion of Vince Russo. What did he say?" But I wasn't going to do that. I was going to stick to the timeline and go, I want to ask everybody on the panel about the asylum, the Nashville Fairgrounds, because I've heard some of the amenities for the boys could be rather rustic. Could you guys talk about the asylum and the character of the place and what it did to shape that program in the early going?
That would have been good. I think they would have liked that.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, you should have gone with that one.
Of the people in that room, I think what percentage of those people were like me, Bryant, and you think actually purchased one of those $5.95 or $7.95, whatever they were, Wednesday pay-per-views? I would think it's less than 10% of the people in that room.
I would think so.
Yeah, so I'm part of an elite class. I think
so.
I think.
I bet people in the VIP line, I bet those were the ones that bought it.
Maybe.
I
don't even know how many.
Maybe
of those
not all of them then, even. But
I'm gonna tell you this: my niece, I bought her an AJ Styles T-shirt. This would have been 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a long time ago. He's a little chubby kind of dude that looked like the quarterback on your high school football team back then. She had this would have been one of AJ's very first T-shirts, maybe the first one he ever had at TNA.
I remember. Yeah, that was
a long time ago. I wish she still had it. I don't know if she still got it anywhere, but she was in high school, Now she's a mother and she's married and all that shit. And she's well, let's see. 35. She's like 35 now. So she was in high school when I'm like, here's the say, because she loved AJ Styles, as a lot of young girls did who watched that show. She was really into the redneck guys, and he was like the king of the redneck guys. He's a redneck looking dude, and chicks dig that, man. They'll pay money for that. Ricky Morton, redneck looking dude. Chicks drop panties and just spent bucks over that guy like a motherfucker, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. What question would you have asked the panel?
I don't know if I had one, because the only thing that came to my mind was the 6-sided ring, and oddly enough, somebody did ask about that. Just like coincidentally, somebody asked Jeff Jarrett about slap nuts. I mean, after we asked him that 5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah, we got it. And he said nobody's really asked me that before. When we did that 5 years ago, he's like, nobody ever.
Yeah,
talked about Teeny. It was slapping your gums together. It was somebody who didn't know shit, but they talked a lot.
Yeah, we were trend setting even back then.
Oh man, such record breakers.
I don't know. I probably would have just asked the same question that the host dude asked. I was going to ask Chris, but I was kind of scared to. I really don't think I would have asked him why he left, because I've always wondered that. I never really heard why exactly. He took off for no reason. It seemed like.
Spoiler alert! It's Russo's fault. Russo's being a bitch.
Yeah. I mean,
Russo's being a bitch about everything.
Well, there you go. I mean, he just his damn hand, his dubious hand is in everything.
I think
shitty.
I think the 6-sided ring went to the wrong people, because the people that were on that stage really were not your high flyer Elix. Like Elix Skipper is one of the guys who is fairly unsung. He's a guy that they don't talk about a lot, but if you know wrestling, or if you know anything about that promotion, he was really very talented.
Dude, I was so hoping that guys like him and the Naturals and Eric, whatchamacallit?
Eric
Young, and Demore.
And Bo Dup.
God dang. I mean, there was and Gail Kim too. I mean, shit, she was there on Saturday. I thought that's the whole reason she was really there. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised Elix Skipper wasn't there, because I loved him, man. He was so underrated, dude. I think
there's like a million guys that you could have asked about that 6-sided ring that used it. Like, well, obviously AJ, but he couldn't be there. Elix Skipper, Amazing Red. Any of those people. Michael Shane was a guy who you could even talk about using that 6-sided ring. Any of those guys. And by the way, I don't know what the payout thing was for that, but if we could have subbed in Gail Kim for Goldilocks, I think we would have all been fine with that. I think we would all been.
I'd have definitely been fine with that. I'd had no problem with that.
Tara, Lisa, they would have been fine. If anybody,
I
mean, I have no respect for Goldilocks at all. I don't really care. I mean, and she was fine on the panel, whatever.
She seems to be kind of full of herself. I don't know.
She is, and I appreciate certain things about her. Like, I think she has a lot of hustle in her as far as trying to get her band over and stuff like that. But
sure,
she's also unfortunately in bed with Russo, so can't really go there. No. And they mentioned Disco, and Disco got kind of roundly booed again on there.
Well, deservedly so.
They shat all over Russo. Russo got shat on super hard, and it wasn't even like a planned thing or anybody with an agenda. It's like, well, just in the course of this conversation, hey, it turns out Russo sucks balls.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any question.
It's like,
well, one question somebody asked about when Hogan came in, but I don't think was that a Russo thing?
I don't remember.
A Russo thing. I was kind of
Jeff has said pointedly, this is like the most pointed he did. He said, I'm not pissed about it, but it's just a fact. When they brought Russo and they brought Bischoff in, they decided to erase the previous history of the promotion. It didn't matter. And that started with the 4-sided ring and everything else. And that's what they decided to do. And he said he told Vince Russo for 5 straight years, do not put Dixie Carter on television. Do not put Dixie Carter on television. Do not put Dixie Carter on television. And then, of course, he did. Bro, it's job security, bro. Bro.
Yeah. Well, he did say, man, he came straight out. So I think one question that I think somebody actually did ask was, do you regret going into business?
Do you think that you regret, like, of these things, would you do? And Jeff's kind of, and I've heard him talk about this with Conrad. Conrad has this saying it's called paying a dummy tax. That's when you make a business decision, you get fucked, you may lose money, but you learn. right? You get
yeah.
you get a PhD or at least a bachelor's, and okay,
Right.
I'm not gonna do that again. So that was a valuable lesson. It was worth $8,000 or whatever I paid. And Jeff kind of looks at it in the same way. Even when he makes a mistake, when things happen, that's something that's a learning experience. Then I won't do that again, and you move on. And I truly believe that he's done that in his life, particularly.
I think so.
Having to go through, he's got a unique perspective, having lost a wife to cancer, having gone through the shit that he's gone through with his father, having conquered apparently alcoholism. So, there's that. There's a unique perspective that he has just in life in general about
and anytime we've seen him, he's been nothing but welcoming. So I mean,
he's super gracious.
That says something to me.
I really hope that Conrad drills down and they do some episodes either on Ad Free or on their podcast about his grandfather, about Eddie Marlin, because that was, to have a father in the promotion was one thing, but to have a grandfather and the love of a grandparent, and to have that guy trying to kind of guide you and shepherd you through a career, but that must have been pretty special. And I bet he's got some amazing memories
He's got to, yeah.
That he wouldn't trade for anything with his grandfather. Eddie Marlin was a really special person. And if you watch, goddamn, when you watch that old Memphis stuff, and they'll just have these angles and they'll get stuck, and I gotta get Eddie Marlin out here, and he'll just and they'll just shoehorn Eddie in, and he's got to figure out, well, okay, he did 2 out of 3 falls last week, and then he's got so then that coming up this week, then you have to do, and he would always just figure shit out, and it was fantastic.
The mastermind.
I mean,
the sage.
The angle that more or less got Jeff in the business when Bill and Buddy beat the shit out of him, Eddie Marlin is integral to that whole thing, because have you seen that? Have you ever seen that? It was like 86. So Jeff is a referee in a match, and Bill and Buddy are running wild throughout Memphis, just doing whatever the fuck they want to. And they just, for no particular reason, they beat up a couple of jobbers, and then they just decided to go ahead and beat the shit out of Jeff Jarrett as the referee. Just started beating the shit out of him. He's like 19, right? He's like 19 years old or whatever. And so Jerry comes out to save him, and Jerry, it's not even a real well-known thing, but he's got one bad eye. Well, Bill and Buddy try to take out his good eye, his one fucking good eye. They're trying to gouge it out. They're trying to blind the man. So this turns into a thing, and then Jerry Jarrett comes out on TV and he's crying. He's like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I just don't know what I'm going to do. And then Eddie Marlin has to come out and make a speech. He goes, look, Jerry Jarrett, he's the man. He calls the shots around here. He's the best promoter. He says what he says goes. But when he's stuck on something like that, then I have to step in. And they end up getting Lawler had lost a loser leaves town match. And then he says, I'm going to come back. I'm going to team up with Dutch. And I don't give a shit what the lawyers do. They can tie me up in court forever, but I'm going to go in there. I'm going to beat the shit out of Bill and Buddy. That's what we're going to do at the Mid-South Coliseum Monday night. Get your tickets now. And it's really great. And that was kind of the angle sort of that got Jeff in the business. They also did a thing where Tony Falk had never won a match, and they just decided to challenge Jeff out of nowhere to it was just like
to get a win.
Just to get him, and then Jeff has like a 10-minute draw with so it's like really fantastic.
Yeah, so, I've not watched some of that stuff, man.
Oh, you got to see it. They've got wonderful. They got hours and hours of the footage on there. So the TNA panel was really good, and that was Sunday. And we decided not to do anything with the women's matches or the AML stuff. We decided to call it a weekend. Now Saturday, we got was super fun. We were there pretty much when the doors opened. Is this where you want to start giving your critiques to Tracy Myers about how things can run a little more smoothly?
Yeah, well,
we should. I want to give the pretext is that we love WrestleCade and we've never had a bad time, and we always have a great time, and we love talking to people, and we feel very fortunate because there were people that drove 7, 8, 10 hours, and and it's right in our backyard. So I'm really, again, in the season of thankfulness. I'm thankful it's there, and I'm thankful there's something there for the fans. And I'm super thankful that the fans are showing up and supporting it in mass because they had huge crowds all weekend.
Yes, huge crowds this weekend. It's probably the most people I've seen, and I say that every year. But yeah, I think the only really critique I have, I mean, you can only do so much with it, but before you really have to consider going to a bigger place, and it was, I think you agree. It was almost at that peak this weekend. When you get there, there's a line where you have to go if you've pre-bought your tickets, and and I don't think you could have bought tickets. I don't know what all was sold. There were several things that were sold out. I don't know if the Fan Fest was sold out or not, but there were so many different packages you could get for the whole weekend as far as tickets. Well,
almost everything was sold out by the time it was all said and done.
Yes, almost everything. Absolutely,
almost everything. Yeah.
So we get there, and there's this spider web of people in the lobby of the convention center.
Right.
And what the deal is like I said, you have a line to go pick up your credentials. If you pre-bought it, you show them your receipt or printout or whatever, and they give you your armbands or whatever they're giving you. And then you have to go get in the line to get into, well, this year it was one of 3 rooms. Usually it's just 1 room, but they had 2 extra rooms because of the demand for tickets to see Sting and some other guys.
The big stars were in 1 room where you pre-bought. It was like Sting
had a whole separate room by himself.
Sting had a separate room by himself.
Yes.
But then the other guys it was like Kane and Mick Foley and Kurt Angle and Ricky Steamboat and Lex Luger, a couple other guys. And they put them, which worked out great, by the way.
Lawler, I think, was in there.
But we, like you said, the information wasn't there. There wasn't somebody to tell us, and blah, 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 blah. They had a guy kind of yelling out, "Oh, yeah, if you want to go see this, you need to go to this ballroom, Winston 2 or whatever. You got to be in that one."
But again, I mean, you don't really know. I don't know. It's just they needed to have somebody at the door. Apparently there was only 1 door open, the main doors to get in to the place this time.
Yeah.
So all they had to do was have somebody there, and anytime, they see people walking in, to say, tell them, if you need to get your credentials here, if you already got your whatever, you get in this, because people, and we were not the only ones, because I told you I was reading some comments on some posts that WrestleCade Tracy, I guess, put up on Facebook and stuff, and people were commenting basically the same thing I was saying. But once everything thinned out and we figured things out, it was fine. But it was really frustrating at first, because there's so many people there and you just don't know what to do. And dude, this is coming from like me and you who've been there every freaking year and know the shit every year. And it's still, this confusing for us. So that to me says something. If we're going to say that it might need a little tweaking, that we might be right, since we see it in year in and year out. So, but that was it. That was the only critique I really had.
We'd be happy to be on a fan panel of some sort, to kind of a consultant, so help make things better. And then
Absolutely.
we in the main room where you go, and that's where you, mostly for people who have not pre-bought stuff, although there was some pre-buying in there. And then that's where they're selling a lot of the gimmicks. They've got artwork, they've got the action figures, they've got t-shirts,
trading cards, just everything,
almost anything. And they have copious. And again, I'm not, that's not my game, so I don't know the quality or whatever. I saw some impressive artwork, and I saw some nice t-shirts, but I couldn't tell you if this action figure was worth more than that one, if that's a good one. I don't know. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
I think we both were a little disappointed by the inspiration. If you would like to get into your thoughts about why you were uninspired by the inspiration.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be as down on them, but I think out of if you compare everybody that we talked to, they were definitely at the bottom of the list. And I say that with as much love as I could put into it, because I do like them. I think the problem was, and maybe you can add to this better than I can put it, but it was like the line was a little long at the time. It was moving kind of slowly. I don't know why, but we stood in line. I don't know how long. I didn't time it, but it was a good little while to get their picture. I think both you and I had pre-buys for them, so we were pretty much committed to have to stand in line to do this, since we've already bought the thing.
Right.
So we get up there, and generally I'd say, unless it was like Kurt Angle or somebody that has like medical issues, or just, kind of getting up in age and can't move around a lot, has a hard time standing up for long periods of time. Generally, everybody else is standing up and will come up to you and talk, you know, right in front of your face and put your arm around them and take a picture and that sort of thing. Well, the inspiration were behind, if you've happened to seen either of our pictures with them. I don't know. Did you post a picture of them, your picture with them?
No, I don't think I did.
I can't remember. Okay, well, I posted one, but if you look at the picture that I posted, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're sitting behind a table with mask on, and believe me, I'm not trying to go anti-mask here, but if you're going to come to an event like this, you can wear a mask. You and I wore masks, but when it came time to take a picture, we'd take our mask off, put it back on. It wasn't a big deal.
We were conversing when we were conversing with anybody, we would pretty much have that thing on.
Yeah, I mean, it was even talking to Shane Douglas, but but it was like you couldn't. It's like they didn't want you near them, kind of thing. They gave off to me. You tell me if I'm wrong. They gave off kind of an aroma, an aura of we don't want to be near you. And
it felt yeah, it was less than personable for sure.
It was less than personable. It's like I don't know. I just thought for what we spent to get our picture made with them, it was it let me down a whole lot because I was wanting to talk to them a few minutes, I mean, a few seconds or whatever, but you felt like they didn't want to be bothered. So I didn't really talk to them. And that was a little disappointing, like I said. And I don't know. It was a little bit of a letdown.
I'd say so. And I hope this time, I mean, again, like you said, I can't really fault them for wearing the mask. We were, what percentage of people that you saw were wearing masks this weekend?
I'd say single digits.
Yeah. If you're being real generous, maybe 10%. I
maybe
think
10%.
In that ballroom today with a couple hundred people when we were watching the TNA thing, it was maybe 3 or 4 other people besides ourselves that had masks on.
You saw more than I did. Then I saw maybe 2.
There was like a woman kind of in front of you that was, and I looked around and there was like a couple more, but there weren't that many. And I really, I hope to God there was not a super spreader event that we were at, but
Right. Well, we did what we needed to do, so.
Well, we're vaxxed and boosted, and then we're wearing masks,
Yeah, we're still rolling the dice a little bit, but we'll trust in for what it is. So
now, getting the inspiration thing out of the way, everybody, Malachi Black was fantastic.
Fuck, man, total opposite end of the spectrum for me. That I'm gonna say, I don't know. There might be a tie, but he's definitely at the top. I don't know. There might be another person or two that's up there with him at the top, but he's definitely at the top of my list of, he exceeded expectations.
Very nice.
And was just the fucking nicest dude and coolest dude. And I fucking love Malachi Black. God dang. That was one pre-buy that I'm glad I did.
It was very nice. And he had the NXT championship there, the belt. So I did the McMahon voice. Why do you have my belt? What do you got?
That was so funny.
Took him back a little bit. But we conversed with him for a while and chatted.
I told him that I liked his wife. I said I love her on her social media. I said her TikToks. I love her TikToks. He goes, "Oh, just her TikToks." And I thought he was being like, "Oh, you just like her TikToks, but nothing else." I'm like, "No." I said, "That's the only thing I follow her on really is the TikTok, and she said she's great on there." He goes, "No. I'm saying her TikTok's the only thing that's worth a crap. Everything else sucks."
He totally he totally threw her under the bus.
I said, "Damn, okay.
All righty then." That's kind of rough, but geez.
I know, but damn, I'm sure they have a great relationship, man.
They do. It's funny if you can be that open and honest, like, hey, your TikToks are good. Everything else is shit.
Wow. He basically just said that too. It's funny.
That's fun. And we had a great visit with Rachel Ellering and Chris Hero. Wow, Chris Hero is a really nice guy.
What a nice guy, man. He it's the first time he's got to come because every other year he's been affiliated with WWE. So he was actually there the last time Rachel was there, but he couldn't come. He was just hanging out in the hotel room. But yeah, we both had so much fun. We were pissing people off behind us that were wanting to talk to Rachel, but she didn't give a shit because she was having fun with us, man.
She did. We had a good time, and we had a kayfabe because he had a Duke University shirt on. We had to pretend we didn't hate Duke with all of our hearts.
Yeah, we just didn't add to the fire as far as Duke conversation. We just kind of nodded and went on. We didn't disagree, but we didn't, go on and on with them about it. So that was kind of tough. But yeah, other than that, it was beautiful. I love those two guys, two girls and guy.
Jordan, we had a fun conversation with Jordan. She was fantastic. I think she
was great.
I don't think I said it, but I really loved Jordan and Rachel together. I thought they had a lot of chemistry together when they were tag team in Impact.
I think so. I think that's why they were champions there for a while. I think other people saw that too. But she's so personable. Jordan is. She's a lot more personable and talkative than I thought she might be.
I got to touch her bicep. I asked her to touch her bicep, and she let me touch it. She goes. She said that she enjoys the bodybuilding more because there's less politics and bullshit apparently in bodybuilding than there is in wrestling.
I don't know if that was a foreshadow, but I don't know. I might not see her in wrestling much longer.
I don't know, man. She's got a lot of different. I saw that one spot that they posted on the WrestleCade account where the woman, I don't know who it was, that came off the rope against her, and she just plastered her, gave her a fucking clothesline and just killed her. I mean, she can do any of those spots now where she can lift people way over her head and shit. She's very, very strong.
And that the outfit that she had on, man, just
fantastic,
accentuated everything about her, man.
Did you see the post that she had on Instagram where she's been feeling kind of depressed lately and not feeling like going to the gym and stuff?
Yeah,
that's weird.
I don't know,
but you never know what you see. That's the thing, is you never know what somebody's going through, right? You never know what they're going through. And I hope, like, if you have people that are feeling like that have been in the business, because you get shit on and rejected a lot in the wrestling business. If you see people that genuinely are trying to say hi to you and support you, I hope that helps kind of, give you a little bit of a boost, a little kind of a morale lift.
Heck yeah, man. I hope so.
I hope it does.
I love her, man.
Tara, Lisa Ann, I had my picture taken with her. I was very happy with that. Man. Fantastic.
She's so nice. I'm glad you wanted to go do that.
She's great. And because I think that's the first time she's been there. Some of these people, and
I think she's been there one other time.
Maybe one other time.
One other time, yeah.
Well, and you got to take your picture with Jay White, which is like it's rare for him to go to these things. Really nice.
Yeah, man. We had a nice little talk with him. I'm almost surprised that there was hardly anybody there to see him. Because, like I've said a couple of other times to people, that getting him was a find, because I don't think he comes out here that often. And
he does not.
He does a whole lot of these.
He doesn't do a whole lot of those things, but he was really nice. And I think it was impressive for him to see the kind of crowds that were there.
Yeah, I like to ask those guys. Ever since we asked Drew McIntyre that time and got his reaction about WrestleCade, I always like to ask people like Jay White that first time there, or maybe never does those things, and that's what their impression is, just to see if they're in awe and overwhelmed like we are.
We are, exactly. It's a really neat relationship that the fans, and I don't take it for granted that when they have these things that people get that kind of support. It's been a huge deal in this area, and I think everybody's been very surprised. We talked, and Buddy Murphy, very nice.
Oh yeah.
Buddy Murphy, lovely fellow. I think Buddy was a little surprised by the support and stuff and all the people that he saw and things like that.
He's another one. Yeah, he's another one. Of course, they'd never been there before. So, and I asked him the same thing. And and he loved it, man. And that was the thing about, one thing I was going to say about Malachi that I asked him, I was like, man, because I don't know how many of these things he does either, to be honest. I know this is the first time, he's been at WrestleCade, of course. So I said, are you overwhelmed? He goes, overwhelmed? No, not at all. I said, I didn't know what some of you guys might think, coming into this thing in Winston-Salem, what kind of crowd you might have and that sort of thing. And then come in and, get bombarded with 3,000 people or whatever.
It's true.
And he's like, if stuff like that bothers me, then I'm in the wrong business. Like, I love you, dude. I'm in love with you, Malachi Black.
I remember there was Eddie Vedder was telling this story about being like in a cafe or something in Seattle back when the band was just blowing up and stuff, and kind of somebody was bothering or something. The waitress comes up to him and goes, "So did it bother you to have those people like bugging you?" And he goes, "Yeah, a little bit." And she goes, "Maybe you're in the wrong business." And he goes, "Well, she had a point." She really was true.
Here's your ticket. Have a good night.
So Buddy Murphy was fantastic. And you chatted for a little while with Vicky Guerrero.
Oh, I think her Malachi, and Jay White probably were the three, the top three, the top of my list this year. I didn't really know what to expect with Vicky Guerrero. I didn't know she'd be, shy or didn't want to be that. You just never know with some of these people, And and my daughter was wanting to ask her about the whole Rock thing when Rock sang her that song and was cutting her down throughout the song. She loved that for whatever reason. She remembered that and wanted to say something to her. And Vicky loved it. She thought it was great that she was talking about it. And she was just the nicest, man. And just went on and just so friendly. And I don't know, man. She's one of those people this year that exceeded expectations for me. And I'm definitely a Vicky Guerrero fan from here on out.
Bryant finally got his picture with Melina.
After the last time, and what a debacle that was. It's like you and Rich and Bruce were like standing there, and I'm standing there, and we're like everybody's standing there for like an hour, and I'm feeling bad because y'all are standing there waiting on me standing there, and meantime Melina's like chit-chatting with some friends of hers that she hadn't seen in I don't know whenever, and I'm standing there ready to give her money, and she's just ignoring the shit out of me. So I'm like, okay, well, she's here this year. I'm like, all right, let's redeem ourselves. She's pretty. What did you think of Melina, man? I want to get
she
your
was fine.
before.
I think she seems like a somewhat of a shy person, but she's trying.
She seems fun. I think she'd be fun to be around.
Sure. But it's it's a difficult situation. It's a little uncomfortable, like you said, for some people. But I thought they did perfectly fine, and I think she was very genuinely impressed with the event itself.
Yeah.
And I think she's one of these people that is genuinely shocked and surprised and grateful that people want to have their picture taken with her and want her autograph and stuff.
Sure. I got that impression too.
So it's always happy. I'm always happy to support those people. It's one thing I get, and Kurt Angle was a little bit, he was kind of distracted. He's looking at his phone when I'm trying to get, because I thought, well, I got the chair and it's been 20 years and not everybody has this chair. So I thought that would be, but he was not, he kind of no-sold that. He didn't care. I got his autograph and it's fine. It is what it is. But those people, the people like Kurt Angle and Jerry Lawler and Kane and those guys, they don't need my $100 or my $60 or Stinger, whatever. It's a great opportunity for you. It's the people like Jordan and it's people like Rachel and those guys that I want to really support and encourage in the business because they're still up and coming. And it's a very difficult business and all that shit. And there's a lot of different cross currents but there's a way to make it. And I'm very happy. I was joshing with Rachel and I think she was getting a little perturbed at me. I was like, oh, your dad must have given you some tremendous stock tips or something. Because, Paul Ellering, they have all these stories about all the boys that are reading Penthouse or something. Paul Ellering is going through the Wall Street Journal. He's circling this stuff. And he was the shoot manager for those guys. He would take their money and invest it. And he did extremely well for the boys. He did very well for those guys. And she was like, no, I don't know about any of that stuff. I don't have any stock. So I go up to Precious and I go, Precious, your daughter's telling me you didn't tell her anything about finances or anything. He goes, sell everything. What do you think about crypto? Should I get some crypto? Sell it all.
That's all he said.
This is how smart Paul Ellering is. I want you guys who are budding entrepreneurs and people who may be getting in this business to pay attention. He's got a camera. He's got a green screen. He's got the spiky pads from the Road Warriors so that when you take your picture, he can put up a nice backdrop for you. And I don't know what he was making it look like. It was WrestleMania or if it was a wasteland or whatever. But he's doing that shit, and he's all gimmicked out. That's a business expense. He's a contractor, so he can write all that shit off because he's smart enough to know this stuff. He's been doing it, and Paul Ellering is the kind of guy he could stay at home probably. Not earn another cent and be perfectly comfortable and do whatever he wants to. But when he goes to one of these things, he's one of these few guys, Bryant, we talked about, who treated this business as a business. It wasn't a lifestyle for him. Wasn't a way to get chicks or to get drugs or to get over or whatever. It was a business for him. Austin Idol, very much the same way. I am here to make this money here. If I can't make it here, I will go here. That's what Paul Ellering was doing, period, end of story, full stop. And he's so far ahead of the game. If you're studying it, if you're one of these young guys and you see the money that he's put into it, maybe you're not making that kind of money. Maybe you're not making that kind of scratch right now. But at some point in the future, you need to be thinking about things that you can do with, virtual reality, Oculus, whatever. That's going to be the next thing. And, at some point in time, that's what they're going to be doing at these conventions, Brian, is stuff like that.
Yeah, it's coming. Oh, for sure, man. I think we just, like you said, I think we saw a little sneak peek of it today, really, is with the green screen setup. I know it sounds a little archaic, really, but I've never seen him do that before at WrestleCade, so that's a start.
He's got it, and Paul Ellering's he's a smart son of a bitch. And if you want to know about what's coming next, you sidle up to that guy and have a conversation. If you're one of the young boys and you want to know what the wrestling's about, you want to know what it is to make a living and to do well monetarily, you talk to that guy. That's worth, to me, if you're one of the boys and you can scratch up, here's $100, talk to me for 5 minutes. Just talk to me for 5 minutes about how to make money in this business. And you'll probably learn 5 fucking things in 5 minutes that'll last you for years and years and years.
I bet people would do that. I would think,
Was there a particular, I felt like if you looked at the crowd in terms of, and if you were somebody who was interested or cared about WWE, you might be a little scared because there was a lot of stuff that was not WWE related at all. Like the people that were wearing WWE related merch I thought it was dwarfed by the people that were in AEW stuff and indie stuff and other things.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The only recent, and I saw some older WWE, maybe even WWF shirts. But the only recent one I saw one dude wearing a Roman Reigns shirt. I forgot which one it was, but it was one of the new Roman Reigns shirts.
There wasn't much love for WWE. And you can't, because the fans who are really the fans are not watching. They had a SmackDown show at the Greensboro Coliseum Friday night, and it looked really good on television. I don't know if they would just gathered everybody over on the hard cam side or whatever, but I didn't hear anybody on Saturday or Sunday talking about that show. I was there, and there was anybody I had to go see it, and it was. I think from what I saw, it was about an average, entertaining SmackDown show. It was the Paul Heyman and Kayla Braxton show.
Well, it was up against WrestleCade Super Show that was sold out.
Yeah. If you can get, if you think about that, two cities that are within 25 miles of each other, and
the star power.
Were there 10,000 tickets sold for wrestling on that night? That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually.
That's
whatever few thousand they had over there, and then whatever they had. It's possible to do it. What wrestlers that Vince McMahon is going to fire in the next 6 months do you want to see at next year's WrestleCade?
Keith Lee.
Certainly. Ricochet is going to get fired any second now. I want to see Ricochet.
Oh, really? He's been there. I have my picture made with Ricochet about 5 years ago.
See, I want to see him. I missed it. You were, again, ahead of the game. You're being the taste maker that you were. I want to get Ricochet's picture because he'll get fired.
Well, yeah. Well, the reason I was ahead of the game there because it's my Lucha Underground.
There it is. Yeah.
Prince Puma. I got to get my picture made with Prince Puma.
All these fucking guys from Lucha that have gone on to huge things now. It's unbelievable.
Man, it's really amazing.
Oh, speaking of which, Isaiah Swerve Scott. There's a guy that they can. Any of the Hit Row guys, including B-Fab.
Oh yeah, all of them. Any of them.
Bring them all in. Come on, guys.
Hey, how about your girl Tegan? She'll be able to come.
And that's what I told Jesse and Cassie. I said, I don't know if you guys know. Do you know Tegan? We know Tegan. I was like, could you just tell her? I hope that she's okay and that the fans still support her. I could tweet that to her or something, but I think it's a nice gesture. And she's had injury problems and stuff. And I don't know if she's at a crossroads in her career. And I hope she goes on. I hope she continues. Hope she continues to pursue her dreams because I think she's really good.
Yeah, I think so too. I totally agree. I love Tegan Knox.
Keith Lee's a good one. Oh, Scarlett. Absolutely. Oh,
well, I've got Scarlett already. I was ahead in the game on that one too.
You nailed that one. You got all this shit. Scarlett would be 100% there.
Well, but as far as coming there and raking in some Jack, yeah.
She's had the exposure. She'd be doing really well.
Oh my God, yeah.
I can't think of anything else. I think like if Renee wanted to
Wyatt.
Oh, Bray,
his brother
yeah,
was there, and his dad was there.
Bray's one of those guys. He could charge the pre-sale for $100. People would do it.
Yeah,
And he doesn't have to be fucking all gimmicked out with the demon shit. He doesn't have to do all that stuff.
He could come as Wyndham Rotunda, and the line would be just as long.
Speaking of which, the Money Inc. guys were all there.
Yeah, including Virgil.
Virgil was there.
I can't believe Virgil was there.
And he got some payday too because he's hanging out with the Money Inc. guy because he want everybody in there.
Just like the old days.
He's a barnacle on the Money Inc. ship there.
Oh, Verge.
The only other thing that we really need to talk about is that promo, I guess, between MJF and CM Punk, which seems to have the world stirred up pretty good.
Yeah, I had mixed emotions about it, mixed feelings about it. I mean, overall, I liked it. What would you give it on I don't know, whatever scale you want to use, what would you give it?
I think the expectations of it were up there, so I don't know if it was ever going to, but I'd give it a solid A. I mean, out of context, without saying, oh, these are the two, and I thought everything was good. When he said the thing when CM Punk said the thing to MJF about comparing him to The Miz, I wish MJF would have come back with, oh, you mean The Miz who headlined WrestleMania, which you didn't, then you cried and left about that? Yeah, I wish that would have been something that he said. But then he went the same way compared to John Cena, which was, nearly as good. So
you didn't have a problem with them referring to WWE almost all the time about stuff?
No, I think it's stupid to just kind of, I mean, there's a fine line between like, let's pretend that doesn't even exist and let's do nothing but talk about that. I understand your point.
Yeah, it's just, I think they maybe went over.
The John Laurinaitis mentions are kind of, that was kind of bizarre and shit like that. But it's also, some of that stuff's fine within context. I don't really have an issue with it. What's becoming a problem for me over time is this AEW coming up Friday. CM Punk's gonna cut a promo. Coming up Monday, CM Punk's gonna cut a promo. Coming up Friday, don't miss it. CM Punk. That to me is getting that's a little.
But it's true, man.
And I enjoy it and I watch it and shit. But it's just like, all right, don't miss it. Coming up Friday, CM Punk cuts a. That's kind of what we're getting at right now, right?
It don't even seem that way. It is where we're getting.
It's going to be an interesting month because JR is not going to be making appearances and they're going to have to reconfigure, and that's going to change the chemistry of stuff. And God forbid it gives Excalibur more of a role on the announcing
team. I think
that's
what it's going to. Yeah, I think it's going to be more him than more Shivani. That's what I'm afraid of.
That's not what needs to happen. The opposite. Tony needs to speak more, and X needs to speak less.
But see, I know, but
needs to happen.
But I think the problem is I don't think Tony has a problem with that. I think
I know. Everybody at that, there's a contingent of people at that goddamn promotion. I'm just so happy to be here, just pulling a check. I'm just so fucking happy to be here. And goddamn Tony, that fucking whoo, man, I just look at that deposit slip every Tuesday. Whoo, there it is. That money's just in there, ain't it? There is a contingent of people that are like that at that fucking promotion right now.
Of course there are.
It's like I think Colt is on that train, on that gravy train.
Yeah.
How hard a time are they having, like keeping CM Punk and Colt like separate? Oh, he's gonna be over here.
I wondered that.
Security, the Eagle is in zone 2. Zone 2, the Eagle is in zone 2.
You need to tell the CM Punk story. I'm not CM Punk. I mean the daggone.
The Colt Cabana
story.
We were in line. Who were we talking to at that time?
Just some guys that were seeing Kurt Angle. They were from Georgia or something.
Oh yeah. We talked because it was their first time there. And of course, being veterans, we were kind of trying to lead them around. And they go, I said, "You're gonna like it. Everybody's nice." And he goes, "You ever had a bad experience with anybody?" I went, "No." And Bryant's like staring through me, like boring. Like, oh yes, there was this guy named Scott Colton, and this was again, historically, the weekend of the podcast from hell, which got him sued and CM Punk sued and all that shit. Yes, that was the only truly.
And they were like all stunned. He was really?
Yeah, he's a dick. CM Punk.
Yeah.
Throughout his entire career, the gimmick is supposedly the nicest guy ever. Truly an asshole. That's like his gimmick.
It's so ironic, really. I mean,
and you
if you
bought
think
his
about
shirt
everybody that
too.
we've met in that at WrestleCade, not everybody's been super talkative, but nobody's been a jackass like him.
He was a dick. But I've even, again, I know people think, oh, he stays up night with, a hard on it. I don't really. I mean, I hate the guy, but he's relegated to mid card hell or whatever he's doing now. I mean, he's the Dark Order's little bitch, so it's fine.
Yeah, he seems to be all right with it. So whatever.
I should have gone up to who was there? Evil Uno or 10 or whatever that was. The guy that was
10,
there.
Yeah.
I should have gone, hey, how's your little bitch Colt Command? And he would, oh, he's fine. He fetches me water. I don't know what he was saying. I'm not really sure. Any other closing thoughts on another award-winning episode of Katie Vick is Alive?
Yes. Can I get 3 final thoughts from WrestleCade in real fast?
Go for it.
All right. First thought is on we were talking earlier about people that I won't say they need the money per se, but they could, I think they appreciate it more than the stings and stuff like that really don't need it. And we passed by this guy a couple times, and I felt bad because I wanted to go talk to him, because both times we went by, he was sitting there just by himself, and that's Falaba. That dude, man, he is so cool. And I think this was a few years ago when he was there. It was the year that you couldn't go.
Yeah.
And he was there, or maybe it was the year, I don't know. But dude, he only charged $5 to get your picture made with him. Yeah. So I'm like, and he was so nice. And I like I said, I saw him, so I felt bad. I should have gone by to, say hello, get my picture made, do something, and I feel bad, but for that. The second thing is referring to Kurt Angle. I was going to say that I was a little disappointed in that experience too, kind of like the Iconics, because of what I paid for it. But I think the difference there is, for me, is Angle is a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a gold medal. I mean, he's been there, done that. He's an icon, kind of thing. So I kind of let it slide. I know he was, not feeling very well sitting down like that and that sort of thing. So the whole, I don't know what, like you said, I don't know what was going on with this whole phone thing, but that kind of bothered me, but whatever. He was nice. I mean, he, I shook his hand, whatever, and he spoke, but he wasn't an asshole. But I was hoping he'd be a little more talkative. I was wanting to ask him a couple questions, but he just didn't seem like he wanted to.
Well, when you asked him what it was like to fuck Raka Khan, I thought that was really inappropriate.
Well, I didn't think so. Because Scott Steiner was just right across the hall from me, so I figured they'd talked about it already, and it was good to go.
Hey, Kurt, remember that time you ran into a tree like Billy Joel did?
That was good times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the final thing is that somebody I didn't mention, but I do want to mention, because I think I've talked some shit about him. I think several people have talked shit about him just for whatever reason, but it was QT Marshall. I purposely went up to him to talk to him because I just wanted to meet him. I wanted to see what he was like because of what I just said. He kind of gets some shit talked about him, for taking up TV time and all that stuff. So I go and talk to him, and dude, he was the nicest,
super nice
dude.
Guy. Yeah.
Super nice guy. And I was asking him, I may have talked to him almost as long as we talked to Rachel. I mean, it was a pretty good while. And I was virtually, when you went down to take your stuff back to the car, your chair back to the car, I virtually talked to him the whole time you were gone. And I was asking him about the whole being on the Cody show, and he said they've got renewed for a new season. And
they did? They got another season of that?
I figured you'd like that.
God. Oh my God.
But I did tell him, though, I told him, I said, he cracked me up, because a few times I have seen that show, I think he's pretty funny, man. And that's why I wanted to meet him. I'm like, I bet he's pretty cool. So I was right. He was very cool, very fucking cool. So I'm now a QT Marshall fan. But anyway, I just wanted to throw those 3 things in there real quick. Because I just love WrestleCade, and I just want to make sure everybody knew that.
So the dream lives on. We got to get Bad Dude Tito there next year, and Jeff Cobb. Those are my 2. That's my wish list.
Yes, I think
those guys.
That should, the wish list. That I don't know of anybody off the top of my head either, man.
Well, I'd love to get MJF. MJF would be tremendous.
Well, Yes, we could go. Yeah, we could go like Omega and Danielson and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Man, fucking MJF, that would be worth it for sure.
Oh, for sure. I wonder if he even does shit like this, really, and just to
I don't
keep
know.
his kayfabe going.
He should. I mean, and you get there and he's going to cuss you out. It's like Don Rickles. He's like the Don Rickles of wrestling or whatever.
Yeah, it's like why he does the cameos. People get him to do the cameos just to get shit on.
The dream would be like if you could get him and Jim Cornette in the same cameo, both like running your ass down. God almighty, that would be like the best thing ever, right?
I would have that on just autoplay all the time.
Absolutely.
All
right. Bryant is available on social media, on Instagram and also on Twitter. It's Bry Sports, BRY Sports. Our show is on Twitter at Katie Vick Alive. Bryant is also on TikTok, Stanley Jackson 23. I am on Twitter at Britt Whitmire, BRITTWHITMIRE. And on Instagram, it's BDub for Reels, BDUB number 4, REELZ. And if you'd like to support what we do, of course, Christmas is coming. And Hanukkah is already here. So you can get your stuff through Amazon at our website, which is katievick.com. That's katievick.com. Thank you so much for all of your support. Until next time, fans, we'll see you ringside.